Hello, my name is Mary Bridges, and I want to thank you for joining me. For my final presentation, I will be sharing how Ray Bradbury, inspired by a poem, takes that work of art and molds it into a thought-provoking story about the conflict between nature and technology. Dr. Bailey Kirby assigned some great works in our introduction to short story class, but the one that stuck out to me was Ray Bradbury's August 2026, There Will Come Soft Rains. I chose this piece because it contains provocative insights into the future of our world through its theme of nature versus technology, and because it's an excellent example of how to write like an accomplished author. But while the story's message is essential, this essay's primary focus will be on craft, like how effectively Bradbury used Sarah Teasdale's poem, There Will Come Soft Rains, to enhance his story. Not only was he inspired by the poem, but he also used it as a literary device in varied ways throughout the story, starting with the title. By highlighting how he turned a piece of poetic art into story, I hope to inspire you to seek out stories that do the same and encourage you to try these techniques in your own artistic endeavors. Arthur Ray Bradbury was born on August 22, 1920, in Waukegan, Illinois. In 1932, the young Bradbury had an encounter with a carnival magician named Mr. Electro. Those exchanges with the magician motivated him to start writing full-time, and he would later note that he continued to write, quote, "every single day of my life since that day," unquote. Bradbury was best known for his highly imaginative short stories and novels that blend poetic style, nostalgia for childhood, social criticism, and an awareness of the hazards of runaway technology. Ray died on June 5, 2012, in Los Angeles. He was 91 years old. And it would be remiss of me not to share with you the poet who played such an integral role in Bradbury's story. Sarah Teasdale was born on August 8, 1884, in St. Louis, Missouri. She published her first poem at the age of 23. By the age of 27, she'd published 2 volumes of poetry and would go on to publish 7 more in her short lifetime. In 1918, Sarah Teasdale won a Pulitzer Prize for her poetry collection titled Love Songs. She is on record as being the first poet to receive the coveted award. Sadly, Miss Teasdale took her own life on January 29, 1933, at the age of 48. But if you search for Sarah online, you'll discover her poems live on and continue to inspire many artists, beginning in 1920 to as recent as 2022. Here is a reading of the poem that Bradbury drew his inspiration from. There will come soft rains and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their whims on a low fence wire, and not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind, neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we are gone. When you read this poem, it's easy to see how Bradbury found inspiration in it. Furthermore, like Teasdale's poem, Bradbury's plot opens with the sights and sounds of the setting. Quote, "In the living room, the voice clock sang, tick-tock, 7 o'clock," unquote, which in Bradbury's story is the house. The house and its technology also serve as the only characters in the story. The date is August 2026, after a nuclear war has wiped out mankind. Still, the technological devices in the house, like the clock and dishwasher, continue to perform their daily automated duties until they too are destroyed, this time by the forces of nature. Bradbury also uses the poem symbolically to convey the theme, to foreshadow, and as irony. For example, he uses Teasdale's theme of nature's power over the war machine to serve as a symbol for his theme of nature versus technology. He draws from the poem again to include the device of irony. He does this when he has the technologically run house read a poem that's about nature's victory over the machine, a theme the tech is incapable of understanding, but that we know foreshadows what nature's response will be to the technological advances that survive the annihilation of mankind. In the end, Mother Nature uses fire to destroy the technology left behind, and while the clock remains stuck in August 2026, nature will evolve and grow and still, quote, scarcely know we are gone, unquote. In conclusion, I want to reiterate why I chose Ray Bradbury's story. First, because of its theme of nature versus technology. The irony that this short story and the poem that inspired it are more relevant now than in the 20th century when they were written was not lost on me. Bradbury's predictive prose are not only well written, they are also eerily relevant as August 2026 is less than 3 years away. Secondly, I was drawn to this story because it is a masterclass on how a writer can find a beautiful poem, employ well-crafted literary devices, and create a great piece of fiction. I hope as a lover of the written word that you will continue to read stories inspired by poetic artists. And if you aspire to write your own stories, I hope through the examples I've shared that you will look to the art of poetry for inspiration and use it as a way to enhance your own storytelling.